The sun had just begun to rise over the edge of the quiet human outpost on the remote planet of Elira 9. Its thin golden light touched the metallic towers and scattered panels, making the station shimmer in the early morning haze. Rylan, a young human engineer, stood on the top platform of one of the communication towers, checking the alignment of a delicate antenna. The cool morning air brushed his face, carrying the faint scent of the alien forest surrounding the outpost. For a moment, everything felt calm and ordinary, but Rylan knew better than to trust ordinary on this planet. He heard a tiny giggle before he saw her. Leary, the small alien girl who had appeared suddenly in the outpost months ago, was hovering in the air beside him. Her wings were delicate, like translucent glass, catching the light and scattering it into soft blue rays. She was small, no taller than a child, but her presence was impossible to ignore. Her big eyes sparkled with mischief, and her skin, faintly glowing, shifted colors depending on her mood. "Hey, Slowpoke," she said, floating closer, her voice a high-pitched melody. "Why are you so serious all the time? This is supposed to be fun." Rylan smiled even though he tried to hide it. "Fun? Fixing a communication tower in thin air is your idea of fun?" Leary giggled again, looping around him like a playful wind. She grabbed a tool from his belt and waved it in the air before returning it to his pouch. "See? I'm helping. You humans are too slow. My wings would have done this in half the time." Rylan shook his head. "And risk breaking everything? No thanks." The alien girl pouted briefly, her glow dimming slightly before returning to its soft shimmer. Then she darted away, teasing him, tugging at his helmet straps, and tapping on the tower's controls. Rylan followed her movements carefully, pretending to be frustrated. But inside, he found himself smiling. Leary had a way of making even the most technical, repetitive work feel alive. The day continued like this. Leary's teasing never stopped. She imitated his careful movements, raced around him, and whispered cheeky comments that only he could hear. Every time he tried to concentrate, she had another trick ready. She even touched the tiny control panels, flipping switches just to watch him chase after her. By midday, some of the other crew members started to notice her strange behavior. Normally, she would interact lightly with everyone, but today she kept hovering close to Rylan. Whenever someone approached, she would dart away playfully, but her eyes betrayed something more, a faint worry. Rylan noticed it too. There were small moments when her glow dimmed for just a second. Her wings quivered slightly when she thought no one was watching, and sometimes she stared toward the thick forest beyond the outpost's perimeter, as if she expected something to emerge from the shadows. "Are you okay?" Rylan asked, kneeling slightly so she could hear him over the wind. "I'm fine," she replied quickly, her voice slightly too bright, too forced. "Just tired." Her eyes flicked toward the forest again. Rylan frowned. Something in her demeanor told him she was not simply tired. Her playful teasing, her constant movement, it all felt like a mask for something deeper. Lunch came, and Leary sat nearby, refusing most of the food the crew offered her. She tried to join the other aliens in small talk, but her glow remained subdued, and she kept glancing at Rylan. Each time he looked at her, she would flutter her wings and smile, but it never reached her eyes completely. "Leary," he said gently, "you've been acting differently today. What's wrong?" She turned her gaze fully on him, eyes wide. "Nothing. I'm just playing, like always." She laughed, high-pitched and melodic, but the laughter felt empty. Rylan didn't press further. Instead, he spent the afternoon near her, fixing panels and sharing small moments of quiet conversation. He noticed she would pause often, staring into the distance, almost as if listening for something he could not hear. And though she continued teasing him, there was an edge to it that made him uneasy. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in orange and violet, the outpost quieted down. Most of the crew had gone to their quarters or were enjoying the evening meals. Leary stayed behind, hovering near Rylan as he checked a panel. "You're still here," he said softly. She shrugged, but her small wings twitched nervously. "I like being near you." Rylan smiled faintly. "I like having you around too, but you seem scared." "I'm not scared," she replied quickly, her voice trembling slightly. She looked away, pretending to adjust her glowing skin. They walked toward the living quarters together, and the forest beyond the outpost seemed to darken as the night crept closer. The cool night air carried strange sounds, soft rustles and distant howls from unseen creatures. Rylan felt a twinge of worry. When they reached his room, Leary hesitated at the doorway. Her small frame shivered and her glow flickered weakly. She did not speak, but stepped closer, almost as if asking for help. Rylan knelt in front of her. "What is it, Leary?" he asked gently. Her voice was barely a whisper. "There's something coming for me. I tried to hide it all day, but now I don't know what to do." Rylan's heart tightened. "What do you mean? What's coming?" She shook her head, tears forming in her big eyes. "I don't know. It's like a shadow that follows me. My people call it a night caller. It comes when someone is afraid, when they are alone. I thought I could keep it away, but—" Her voice broke, and for the first time, she could not hold back. Rylan opened his arms instinctively. "Then don't fight it alone. Come here." Leary stepped into his embrace, trembling softly. Her wings drooped against her back, and her glow flickered weakly. She pressed her face against his chest and let out a quiet, muffled cry. Rylan held her firmly, whispering calm words. His presence was steady, grounding. She could feel the warmth and strength radiating from him, a strange comfort she had never experienced before. For a long while, she just wept quietly in his arms, letting out the fear she had hidden all day. Rylan did not move, did not speak too much. He just held her, letting her know she was not alone. Finally, after what felt like hours, she lifted her head slightly, blinking at him with tear-streaked cheeks. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean to bother you. I was just trying to pretend I was okay." "You're not a bother," Rylan said softly, brushing a hand through her hair. "You don't have to pretend with me. I'll stay with you. Always." She blinked, her glow returning in soft pulses. A small smile appeared, fragile but real. "You really mean that?" "Every word," he replied. The night outside was deep and quiet. The stars shimmered faintly in the black sky, and the alien forest beyond the outpost seemed less threatening with her by his side. For the first time, Leary felt truly safe, not because she could hide or run, but because someone chose to stay with her, even when fear threatened to overwhelm her. They stayed that way for hours, talking in whispers. She spoke of her people, of the night caller, and of the strange sensations that haunted her. Rylan listened, never interrupting, never judging. Each word she spoke seemed to ease a small part of the burden she had carried alone for so long. Eventually, she curled up beside him on a small couch, still glowing softly, still trembling slightly, but no longer crying. Rylan sat beside her, letting her lean against him. They did not need words anymore. The silence was comforting, a shared understanding that sometimes the simple act of being present could defeat fear stronger than any weapon or shield. And as the first hints of dawn crept toward the horizon, Leary whispered one last thing before drifting into a light sleep, her voice barely audible. "Tomorrow, I will tease you again, but only because I know you'll protect me." Rylan smiled, watching her tiny form breathe softly. "I'll be ready," he said quietly, his voice full of warmth. And in that moment, he realized that even on the most remote outpost in the galaxy, the bond between human and alien could shine brighter than any star in the sky. The night outside was still, but Rylan could feel a quiet tension in the air. Leary slept beside him, small and fragile, her wings folded tightly against her back. The soft glow of her skin pulsed gently, like a candle fighting against the dark. Rylan stayed awake, alert. He had never encountered anything like the Nightcaller before, but he knew one thing clearly. He would not let it harm her. The outpost was silent, the crew asleep in their quarters. The alien forest loomed beyond the protective barriers, black and endless. Rylan remembered Leary's description. The Nightcaller was not a physical creature, but a psychic presence that fed on fear and loneliness. It could approach silently, invisible, and strike when its target felt most vulnerable. Tonight, he realized, it had chosen her. He looked at her tiny form, curled into a ball, trembling slightly. Her earlier tears had not gone unnoticed by him, and he could feel her fear like a faint vibration against his chest. He whispered softly, "You're safe. I'm here. Nothing can touch you while I'm with you." She stirred slightly in her sleep and mumbled a soft word he did not understand. Rylan brushed his hand gently across her wings. "I'll protect you," he repeated, "even if it means facing whatever comes for you myself." Minutes passed. Then he felt it. A faint pressure in the air, almost like a sudden drop in temperature. The glow from Leary dimmed again, and a shiver ran through her body. Rylan's senses sharpened. Something was near. The Nightcaller had arrived. He stood slowly, keeping his movements calm so as not to alarm her. He scanned the room, the barriers, and even the empty corridors. The Nightcaller did not have a form he could see, but he could feel its presence pressing against the edges of the room like a dark tide, testing for weakness. Leary stirred again, eyes opening slightly. "It's here," she whispered, voice trembling. Her glow flickered erratically, a sign of fear. Rylan knelt beside her and held her hands. "It doesn't matter. It can't reach you, not while I'm here." Her big eyes looked at him, searching for truth. "But it always follows me. My people. They try to hide, they run, but it always finds us. I've never escaped it before." Rylan shook his head firmly. "Not tonight. Tonight it meets me first. And I won't let it touch you." The Nightcaller pressed harder. An invisible force that made the air feel heavier, colder. Leary's wings trembled, and a low, mournful sound seemed to vibrate through the walls. She gripped Rylan's hand tightly, as if he were her anchor. "Keep calm," he murmured. "Focus on me. Nothing else matters." He had an idea. The outpost had a shield generator meant to protect against storms and minor cosmic disturbances. Perhaps its energy could disrupt the psychic flow of the Nightcaller, weaken it enough for Leary to be safe. He lifted her gently and moved toward the generator room. She clung to him without hesitation, tiny arms wrapping around his neck, trusting him completely. Her glow flickered weakly with each step, and he whispered to her, telling her stories, jokes, anything to keep her mind from sinking into fear. The corridor lights flickered as they approached the generator. The Nightcaller's pressure seemed to intensify, like invisible hands pressing against them. Leary gasped softly, leaning against Rylan. "It's strong," she whispered. "I've never felt it like this before." "I know," Rylan said calmly, "but it's about to meet someone stronger than your fear." He reached the generator room and activated the main console. The shield pulsed to life, sending soft waves of energy into the outpost's perimeter. The lights flickered, and the humming grew louder, filling the room. Rylan held Leary close, protecting her from the pressure. The Nightcaller reacted. Though invisible, Its presence pressed against the shield with violent intensity, waves of psychic energy rippling through the room. Leary collapsed to her knees, trembling uncontrollably. "It's too strong," she whispered, voice breaking. "I can't." "You can," Rylan interrupted, holding her shoulders firmly. "Look at me. Breathe with me. It cannot feed on fear when you are not alone. Trust me." He began to speak steadily, recounting memories of their day together, the teasing, the laughter, the moments she had floated around him carelessly. His voice was soft but firm, filled with human determination, a warmth that seemed to seep into the room and push against the darkness. Slowly, Leary's wings lifted slightly. Her glow, faint and irregular, began to pulse in rhythm with his words. The Nightcaller hissed around the barrier, frustrated by the presence of unyielding calm. "You're not alone," Rylan said again. "I am here. You are safe." Leary's small hands clutched his arms. I can feel it," she whispered, voice trembling but steadier. It's weakening." Rylan smiled faintly. "Good. Keep focusing on me. Hold on to me." The Nightcaller pressed harder for a few more moments, and the generator hummed at full capacity, energy crackling in the air. Then, gradually, its influence began to fade. The oppressive weight in the room lifted slightly, and the trembling in Leary's body eased. Her glow returned to a gentle, steady rhythm, stronger than before. "It's leaving," she whispered, relief in her voice. "Yes," Rylan said quietly, still holding her close. "It couldn't break us. Not tonight." They remained together for a while, breathing slowly, listening to the faint hum of the generator. Leary leaned against him, small and fragile but glowing softly. For the first time in her life, she realized that her fear could be faced and overcome, not alone, but with someone she trusted completely. "Rylan," she said softly, her voice almost a whisper, I thought I would never escape it. I've tried so many times." "You don't have to try anymore," he replied, brushing a strand of glowing hair from her face. "I'll always be here. We face it together." A small smile appeared on her lips, the kind that reached her eyes this time. "Even if I tease you tomorrow?" she asked. Rylan chuckled softly. "Even then. Teasing is allowed, but crying, you don't have to ever do it alone again." Leary laughed softly, a musical sound that had no fear in it anymore. She floated slightly, her wings unfurling and catching the light from the generator. "I feel lighter," she said, "like a part of the fear is gone." Rylan nodded. "It's gone because you trusted someone, because you didn't face it alone. That's what humans do. We protect, we endure, and we stand together." She looked at him, her eyes bright and sincere. "I've never felt so safe." "Then let's keep it that way," he said, "no matter what comes next." The rest of the night passed quietly. Leary curled up beside him again, this time sleeping peacefully. Rylan stayed awake, watching over her. He thought about how fragile she was, how playful and teasing she had been all day, and how vulnerable she had become in the face of something beyond her understanding. Yet, despite all that, she had shown trust, the kind of trust that no human had demanded or forced. It had been given freely, and he would honor it. Morning light finally crept over the horizon, painting the outpost in soft golds and pinks. Leary stirred, blinking her big eyes sleepily. Her glow was steady now, bright and calm. "Rylan?" she murmured. "I'm here," he said, smiling. She giggled softly, stretching her tiny wings. I guess I'll start teasing you again." "And I'll be ready," he replied, offering his hand. She took it immediately, her grip firm for such a small creature. "Because you always protect me," she said. "Yes," he said, "always." Together they walked toward the balcony, watching the sun rise over the alien forest. The Nightcaller had gone, driven away not by weapons or shields, but by trust, presence, and courage. Rylan knew there would be other challenges, other fears that might come their way, but for now, the tiny alien girl in his arms felt safe, and for him, there was no greater victory than that. The day stretched ahead, full of possibilities, teasing, and laughter, but Rylan knew that, should darkness ever return, he would face it, for her, for the trust she had given him, for the bond between human and alien that was stronger than any fear in the galaxy. And as they both looked toward the horizon, Leary's glow steady and warm, she whispered softly, "Tomorrow, I'll tease you again, but I'll never be afraid with you by my side." Rylan smiled. "Then I'll be right here, every time." For the first time in her life, she believed it. And for Rylan, there was no other truth he would rather live by: to protect, to endure, and to be the shield for those who needed it most, especially the tiny alien girl who had teased him all day and now trusted him with her very heart.